Howdy, hey, how was your day? Welcome to the Seeking First podcast, where we open books and get you hooked on the means of grace. We are starting a new section this episode. Super pumped about it. Also, I brought this up to Bri. We are officially halfway through our episodes about this book if we stay on track.
Halfway done. That's a big if.
It's a big if for us, but it is a very likely if we can hope.
That's honestly, it's so crazy to think we're halfway done. It
So
feels like
nuts.
yesterday I was in this area, this basement, recording our very first one, all
Yes.
nervous and shaky, and now I'm just like, I don't know. It's comfortable now. It just feels like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's comfortable.
And hopefully it's comfortable for all of you guys too. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully you're hooked on the book. You are enjoying just spending time with us and talking about things, and growing closer to God in the process. I have loved when I've noticed, and I cannot blame anyone with the length of our episodes, but like, you know, a few episodes will go out and there won't be much listens, and then like after a few weeks, just like I think all of you guys like catch up or something, and the little comments that I get to read with like, I don't know, like on our posts or in the question answers, whatever, are just so fun. So definitely keep interacting with us because we love to know your comments and your inquiries and all of those things. And I will give a huge shout out to Patrick because he's killing it on the interaction. And his comments are
I need to catch up. I'm missing all this. Oh my god.
I replied to some of the comments for you. Not on Instagram, just on Facebook. But
on Facebook? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't know what this is, if this is like my generation thing or my age thing, but I really suck at Facebook. So that does not surprise me that all the action's happening on Facebook because like, I don't know, I think that's me being forced to change. I'm always way more comfortable on Instagram and things like that.
I kind of just
like,
let you take Instagram. I take Facebook.
I always go to the Instagram and I'm always up on the Instagram. So, I mean, there you know, if you want to talk to Erica, hit us up on Facebook. If you want to talk to me, hit us up on Instagram because that's when you're going to get me.
That's so accurate. Patrick like asked being like, which I never replied to him. So here's your reply, Patrick, because I know you'll listen to this. He's like, which would you rather have me comment more on, Instagram or Facebook? And I'm like, well, I see the Facebook, Bri sees the Instagram. So
well, now I'm gonna be checking the Facebook. Like, well, I'll try. I say that.
Now you have motivation for that.
I'm really gonna try. Well, I want to see what Patrick is saying. I'm just curious.
Right.
We also are like terrible communicating to each other when like people comment or whatever. We're like, we just take care of it ourselves. Like I told you a while ago, I was like, oh my gosh, my friend messaged me. That's like saying she's so excited for our podcast. Yes. And you were like, oh, and I was like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that was weeks ago. Like that was like weeks ago.
We're the worst at that. Oh my gosh. We'll get there someday.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but I told you I was trying to get a hold of David.
Oh yeah.
It's not going well.
No.
It's not going well. So don't lose hope though. I'm gonna really try for each author that we go through, except for oh my gosh,
I was
you can't do Elizabeth Elliot.
the next book. Don't share what it is. Don't share what it is.
But no. If they are living and well, I will try to get a hold of them. Otherwise, I'm not gonna take the further steps of getting a hold of them. I'm not into that spooky dooky stuff, so I'm not gonna do that. But if they're alive and well,
Bri, if you are able to contact our next author, I would be like terrified and deeply questioning.
I would hate that. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, yeah, not to reveal what we're doing next, but the author is no longer with us, sadly. Well, it's actually in 2 books, but that's okay. That's how prepared we are.
Oh, both of our next books, we can't contact you.
Yeah.
Wait, honestly, maybe our third too, if we end up going with the one we were going to do.
Okay, well, I should have tried harder with David.
At some point, we will find
we gotta pick living alive
that we can contact.
Here's the thing. Older people are just so wise. And I'm not saying that younger people aren't, but like a lot of the older books really get to me. They really, the older writers.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that
too. It's like how they write has more like, I don't know, like honor and respect to the words.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like, so sweet to my soul. I love it.
If I like read a bunch of Elizabeth Elliot, like I do often in spurts, I will just like start to talk like her. like how she writes, and I love that.
She writes so beautifully.
I love that.
Oh,
and it's like, word. But then I get made fun of because people are like, "Why are you saying it like that?" And I was like, "Because it's beautiful." Also, it's just nice to say it like that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to bring up. I will keep bringing this up. On our Buy Me a Coffee, one of our membership ranks is you get to find out what books we pick as soon as we pick them. So if you're super intrigued by that and like really want to know what we're picking next, so you can study it when we do. If you choose, I could not tell you which membership tier it is right now. I will get better at that. But if you go to our buymeacoffee.com/seekingfirst, you will see it there. And along with that, you'll get access to that Facebook group and a sticker, I'm pretty sure, of our logo. So if you want all those goodies, Bri and I have the next 2 books planned out. So you would get to know at least one. And then we would tell you the next one as soon as we start reading it ourselves. I think once we start reading it is when we'd let you know.
Yeah. Well, it's easy for us to pick out books, honestly. We're not in any way running out of books to choose. So we'll know for sure quite ahead of time.
I say lovingly, don't suggest us books yet because we will get overwhelmed and you guys don't want that.
No.
We have so many books lined up already. Like we will appreciate suggestions, but it will be like way down the line if honestly, it's not one we already have.
Yeah, I would be up to like, I know we didn't talk about this, so I mean, Josh can edit it out if we decide not to open this up, but like comments, he's getting his paper.
Whiteboard.
If you have like a topic or something, I would be open to that. Like every once in a while, just taking a break from the book or like after you finish a book and doing a topic sort of conversation. I'd be totally fine with that.
I think what we should do is utilize those opportunities and do a live podcast episode when we get told topics.
Well, and if you give us topics,
also turn it into
that's right. Episodes. If you give us topics, we can do a live. There we go, guys. That's the thing. Well, that'll come. No, that'll come. Think about all the things that feminism ties into. Like it's gonna come. It's gonna come.
Yes. So, but yeah, give us topics. We'll do a live episode, guys. It'd be so fun.
That's our challenge.
We did a kind of live episode with Josh's podcast. Y'all can check that out. Bri will be posting it soon. We got a meme made of something we were saying, so that's pretty cool. And
does Patrick even know about that meme?
I don't know. Patrick knows about the meme. Yeah,
perfect. Yay!
I love how our
sorry, I just realized that my mic was muted. Patrick? He knows.
He knows.
He knows about it. Woo! Do I have to re-celebrate now since it was muted?
Yeah, right.
I feel like I need to throw another party.
Do I change my Spotify question for everyone instead of to what did you think about this episode to where did we mention Patrick?
Oh my gosh.
Every episode. We need him on here so we can start talking about him in third person.
I was gonna say at some point we'll like stop being obsessed with the fact that he listens to this and we'll just accept it. But we're not there yet. So I'm sorry. You're gonna hear about Patrick a lot.
Honestly, y'all, here's what you do. Every time we make a mention of Patrick, 1, take a sip of water so you can stay hydrated because that's important. And then 2, go, water is important.
Oh, I said Ayo. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said ew.
No.
I completely heard that wrong. I was like, dude, I'll come at you. Can I also say Bri was lifting up a bottle of water as she said that, and I was getting so confused. Anyways, also every time you do that, then go and save one of his episodes to listen to later. There you go. Win-win. You hydrate and your mind gets
renewed. Renewed. Either way. Wait, I actually copied that thinking it was a word. Okay, we can't come up with words, but we could quote a few words tonight from Habits of Grace. Yeah. We tonight are talking about the church, like Erica said.
Part 3.
I think you did say that. Part 3, halfway point. I'm so excited to talk about the church. I get super passionate about this. But I'm going to try to keep it because we have so much to talk about. And
so many notes.
There's a lot. But
so excited.
I'm really excited to jump into this one. Just the means of grace that belonging, or he calls this belonging to his body. Guys, this is such a beautiful thing. And it's so sad to me that this is not a priority for some people, or some people don't get to experience that. So I'm really excited to dive into it and just talk about what the means of grace it can be. And y'all, I understand sometimes people are hard. They're hard, especially if you're like a natural like introvert. Like it's hard to belong to a body. It's hard to put yourself out there, but it is so worth it. So worth it to be involved and to just be part of his body.
Yeah. I think too, we don't think about like, I mean, I never saw it as like a specific means of grace. Like it's always just kind of something that you're like, oh yeah, you feel better when you go to church. Like never.
Well, also I think that had to do with like how we were both raised too.
Yeah.
Like we both went, like our parents were very much like, you know, church Sunday morning. Like mine was Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. Yeah. Like we were every time the doors were open. But and not to say I'm not there now every time the doors, but like not many churches do Wednesday or Sunday nights anymore. Yeah. But yeah, that was just such a like it was just something I knew. Like it was expected. We were just supposed to do this. But I love to see how that has like grown to something I know to do, to something I love to do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I love to like I think and I hope you guys who listen are following along in your books if you have one, because the way he words, I reread this first chapter 13 over today, and I don't know, it the way he mentions it is just makes it so full of beauty and joy and like hope. And I won't go right away into the one that kind of like the part that kind of not surprises me, but wasn't something I thought about a lot. That's later on, but he does talk about a lot of things I think we kind of think about very vaguely, but never really set our minds upon to reflect and to focus on. I'm going to start us out with this chapter with a quote from the very first page of it, where it talks about, man, I'm going to need Josh's help with this. It's a Greek word, the koinonia. Is that correct? Heck yeah. I got
nice job.
Thank you. The koinonia, Greek for commonality, partnership, fellowship, that the first Christians shared wasn't anchored in a common love for pizza, pop, and a nice clean evening of fun among the fellow crucified.
Oh my gosh.
I read that wrong, but it's not it. Hello. I can't.
Okay.
You know, it's like just my brain told me not to say it, and then I said it anyways. Okay,
I think you should restart the
quote. I was just gonna say I'm going to.
It's beautiful as a whole. No offense.
Oh gosh. Okay. The koinonia, Greek for commonality, partnership, fellowship, that the first Christians shared wasn't anchored in a common love for pizza, pop, and a nice clean evening of fun among the fellow churchified. Its essence was in their common Christ and their common life or death mission together and his summons to take the faith worldwide in the face of impending persecution.
Yeah, that is good.
More than we think.
Oh yeah, for sure. I felt personally attacked at the pizza, pop, and ice cream. Or no, sorry, the clean
youth ministry, and so it's like
that's just typical. That's just basics of youth ministry. Pizza and pop, but it shouldn't be. That's what this quote's saying. It shouldn't be that way.
Well, and sadly, like, okay, honestly, I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. I am heartbroken at how the modern church views it that way, at how their goal is to just attract people and not to keep people. It's to bring them to faith in Christ and then just kind of leave them there to entertain. I hate it because like how many people do you know who like always says, oh, I love going to church and wada, but then every time complains, oh, but the pastor went a little too long and now I'm hungry or something like that. Like, okay, objectively, funny joke, whatever. Babylon Bee posts stuff like that all the time. I think it's hilarious satire, but it should not be applicable to the actual church. Like, that should not be what we naturally, talk about with the church. Like, it shouldn't just be complaining or just desiring to be entertained and kind of sucked in. Like, I don't know. He talks about how like we're troops heading out to battle together. Like we're in this spiritual battle, but then every time we go to church, we just think, I want to feel good. I want
pizza, we want whatever. That like high that we get from like that spiritual high, and we want that to last us all week. And it's like
Yes.
no wonder like church like I don't want to say this. People that serve on Sunday mornings are so exhausted if that's what the goal is, to try and to feed all of these people, because like if you're on a low staffed, like running church or whatever, like there's only so many of you, and if you're trying to give that feeling, quote unquote, to everyone that they're full and happy, and like that's exhausting. Like oh my gosh,
and you're giving them something fake.
Yeah, that's not honestly what's gonna last them throughout the week. Like that's gonna wear off probably within the afternoon. Like let's just be honest. Like maybe it'll last till Monday morning.
Once you take that afternoon nap, like
oh yeah,
everything's out the window. You wake up from that Sunday afternoon nap. That's where your priorities lay, man. What the first thing you go to? What's the first thing
I go to the pantry? I get so hungry. But
dude, for real, same, man.
Well, side thing.
Drop in the comments if you also get hungry after Sunday afternoon naps.
I don't know what it is.
That's factual.
Yeah, but that's so true. Like it's gonna wear off. Like it ultimately is. And so like check yourself before you go to church Sunday morning. Like what are you going for? Like where are you going to be like filled up by the people, like filled up by the music? Like that's a lot of stress on me, so please don't do that. You're gonna be filled up like just come being ready to be filled up by God's word and receive it in that way, and also just like know that this is supposed to be preparing you, and this is supposed to be in preparation for the week, and take hold of that.
And honestly, if you aren't feeling satisfied by, or even you feel like you're not satisfied thinking of the most basic church service ever, you are not going to be satisfied by heaven. And that is what our eternity is. It is, praising God in simple chords. Like I don't look in Revelation and see that the saints are singing all these super elaborate songs with drums and guitars. Like they're singing together, and there is going to be music and song, but it's going to be directed towards God only. And it's going to be over and over and over again. And so if you are, bored by the music or bored by your church or whatever, you're going to be bored by heaven. Like, honestly, if you're not pleased by the bare minimum, then are you pleased by God? Are you satisfied by God? And it's a hard truth to accept, because like, I feel like all of us, especially those who grew up in the church, kind of have to have that moment of swallowing that pill of just like, oh shoot, what am I here for? Like what am I hoping to gain? Is it selfish desires, or is it, I'm here to receive what God is ready for me to receive, and to do it with no other desires besides, glorifying God and praising him and sharing that time with fellow believers prepping for war. Like that's what it is. And
it's a time of preparation.
And I think it's important for us all to kind of take a second to dwell on that. I'm really bad at it, but I always try to take like Saturday nights to kind of like prepare my heart and soul and mind and body, whatever, for Sunday morning worship. And I think, okay, if what I'm wanting out of the service is to, get that spiritual high, or to get happy, like a certain kind of happiness or a certain kind of feeling, I'm not going for the right reasons. Like I need to go so that I could be filled up with scripture and filled up with the Lord and filled up with preaching and all of the other means of grace, which we will get to talk about later, which I'm super excited about. But all those things, like, is that what I'm there for? Is it just to get that high that takes me through the week? That's so false and fake, and it's never dependable anyways.
This reminds me of this sermon I heard, and I really want to say this was Josh, but this was like total changing when I like heard this. It is really rough. Like I can't. I'm gonna try to put it together so it makes sense. But if it doesn't make sense, call me out on it, or help me out. Either one. So basically, I don't even remember exactly what the sermon was about, like as a whole, but this one big takeaway I had was, instead of thinking of Sunday as a time to prepare you for the week, prepare your week for Sunday. And I knew it was Josh. I was like, if it's something that wise, it's got to be Josh. But yours, yes. Your words stick with me, man. I'm sorry, they just do.
Josh is suddenly shaking his head.
He's like, it stuck with me to this day. Like, I don't know if I quoted it right, but like that was such a game changer for me for Sundays. Like, I definitely thought, okay, Sunday, here it is. Like, I'm gonna be prepared to like go throughout the week. And when you switch that thought to saying, okay, how can I prepare this week for Sunday? To be like, that changes so much of your week, like so much of your attitude throughout the week, and just what you do. It was crazy. And I still like, that's still how, if I'm struggling, I'm like, okay, if I start to notice, like, do like a little checkup on yourself and like, okay, what am I going for to get paid? Just kidding. What am I that's a really bad joke.
Not expecting that.
I couldn't resist. All right, you can cut that out if you need to. What am I going?
Every paid church staff just goes, amen. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You have to joke about it, y'all. You just have to.
It's true.
Anyway, so it's like, what am I going for? Like, what am I wanting to get out of this? Or like, is like, just check up on yourself for that. Like, where's your heart? Like you were saying, where's your heart at? Where's your heart at?
Well, and like, to go back to like the direction he goes in the book, I'm gonna be quoting a lot. There's a lot of good quotes in here this time.
Go for it.
I love it. But one of it says, true fellowship in this age is more the invading troops side by side on the beach at Normandy than it is the gleeful, I'm not going to say that right, revelers in the streets on VE Day. Like, we're not, I think everyone misses that key of what the church is as a whole, which is an army going to battle, because no one wants to accept that there is a battle. And that's a whole conversation in itself that we can have sometime. I'm not going to go too much in depth in it because, I could go so much on it because it's one of my favorite topics. But there is a spiritual battle, and not even just going to church, but being a part of a church, you are building each other up, prepping each other for this battle. And what's really cool is later on he says, it says that the same Jesus who joins us commissions us. The medium of our relationship is the message of salvation. When the fellowship is true, the depth of love for each other is not a symptom of ingrowth, but the final apologetic. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. So I think about that, like within Acts, and with the Acts church starting, like they were formed together by a love for Jesus and a desire to follow in his footsteps. And Jesus is right side by side with us, like leading forward this army, this group of people. Like, we're not alone, we're not doing it on our own. And I don't think we utilize the fact, like, knowing Jesus is with us enough. Like, we're, like you say, like with basing so much of our spiritual highs or whatever on a Sunday morning church service. Like, are we truly depending on Jesus to fulfill our needs for the week, or are we trusting in the quality of the music and the quality of the preacher? Like, I don't know, that's we've missed that part. And how sweet is it when you go to a church that you can tell is saturated with the Holy Spirit, and everyone is there, whether they're struggling or had a really good week, or everything in between. You can just walk in there and you can tell, like, they are leaning on Jesus over themselves, over anything else. Like, it is fully Jesus, and he wants us to do that. Like, he's there to guide us and to lead us and to strengthen us. Like, he is the bridegroom, like he is the head of the church. Why wouldn't we utilize what a gift that is? But we push it to the side thinking, well, maybe they'll be boring if we focus too much on doctrine or theology or whatever. Like, let's focus on this. And it's like, no. Like, what a sweet gift it is to have God in our midst, and to gain momentum for our battle from, and we just kind of push them to the side. And it's, I've done the same, and I often do when I have hard weeks, but like just always try to get that perspective and to remember that is so important. And I think if you have a church that is rooted in the Lord and rooted in Jesus, say thank you for it. Like praise the Lord that he has put you in a place where you can go and not worry about that, and like can just know and you can tell that it is rooted in the Lord and absolutely nothing else. Like that is such a sweet thing to have. So if any of you guys have that, just give a little praise to the Lord there. That is a huge gift that is sadly not a normal thing in the Western society of churches.
No, for sure. Simple does not define most churches around this area, but that is really what it is about. Like, if we're thinking it's about us and for us, like we're just not gonna get that. We're just not gonna get that. But being rooted in God's word and wanting to hear God's word and the doctrine of it. Like, I feel like some churches kind of tend to leave that to like small groups or Bible studies. And I'm not for that. I'm not for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they just kind of rely on that to further grow, which it is and it can, because you have that smaller group of community.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm a firm believer, like the doctrine and the truth needs to be preached at the pulpit. To have that. Yeah, that's important.
Which I'm excited we get to talk about that in a later chapter.
Preaching. Yeah. That's why I was kind of like, how do I say this without like going into that too much? Because I was like, we need to stay on topic. That's what I was like, okay, try to stay away from that. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that.
Well, I have a really good way of going back to it, because I kept trying to not do that so you could say something, because I was getting in a flow, and I was like, but I don't want to do the whole thing.
You're fine.
There is a really good transition that he has in his chapter as well, like with us talking about how important the church is, that it's rooted in Christ, whatever. This is the part that I actually never really thought of until I read this book. And it's one of those moments where you're like, well, duh, but you just don't realize. But the fact that like, I worded it in my notes as our family brings us home. And there's, once again, I'll just quote it again. He says, it is not laid on the spiritually weak to muster their will and do the discipline, but it is for the body to take up discipline on behalf of the wanderer, to mediate grace to the struggler, to preempt apostasy by putting words of truth and grace into his open ear hole and praying for the Spirit to make them live.
That's good.
I never thought about that though. Like, once again, modern church is so individualistic. Like, so focused on, well, how do you feel individually? What can
what's your truth?
Oh gosh.
Let's just call it what it is.
But honestly, that is what it is. And like, I joke that I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted because that's the opposite of what the church should be. Like I'm a mixture of heartbroken and disgusted when I hear that, especially if I see it from like a church social media post or something. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh, how can
it takes away the beauty from the church?
For you, and how can I avoid you?
You could get that from any encouraging or motivational speaker or whatever. Like that's what churches are becoming, like large gatherings of motivational speakers, and it's not what it's about. There's no beauty in that.
It's a concert mixed with motivational speakers. That is what modern church is. And like, who has ever okay, tell me straight up, if you have, props to you, who has ever gone to like a concert with a motivational speaker, I said yes, and thought, this is what I want every Sunday morning? Like, for real.
That's a no here.
Sometimes you go, and sometimes you're like, okay, what they said was super interesting. I will not deny there's not often, but there's been a couple of speakers that I'm just like, okay, I'm not mad about what you're saying. What you're saying is honestly
Mm-mm.
pretty good. And it's always very seeker friendly. So yeah, if you've never heard the gospel before, usually they're pretty good at speaking about that. Whatever. Sometimes the music is really good, but so often it's based on those darn spiritual highs that
Yeah,
I
I was gonna
swear
say
are
it
the
just goes
reason
back
why
to the high.
everyone thinks that they lose their faith is because they're dependent on spiritual highs. They
And
don't
that's
know what
why
it's
we
like
need the
to be
body.
consistent.
Yes, we need
Yes.
the whole body of the church,
Yeah,
because
this is
then
gonna
when
be
you're
Erica's
talking
passion
that
episode.
quote about, you know, the brothers coming in and like to
Yeah.
spiritual week, like you're not gonna get that from like a 2-day conference.
No,
Like,
no,
you're
but
not
you know
gonna
what you
get
get
that.
from the 2-day conference? If
A
you go with a group of
high.
people from your church. No.
Pretty
I actually have a
pictures.
positive for this. I have a
Oh,
positive
really?
for it.
Oh, okay.
Yes. What you can get from a conference, because I've experienced this with our youth group, is through the conference bonding together so that it continues
Yes.
at home.
Yeah.
The actual,
but still, you got to go with the church
saints.
group to have that bonding. So we're just back to the same circle.
Unpopular opinion. Is there a point to conferences if you're not going with anyone local to your community?
No.
Ooh.
No. Absolutely not.
Multi-topic there.
I'm okay if you're offended at that. I don't think there's any point. Because who's going to follow you up on that? Who's going to be the brother that's coming up beside you being like, hey, do you remember this? How you doing with that? Like, who's going to be that brother?
That tear-filled moment of conviction. Who's going to
that guy on Snapchat you added? No, he don't care.
Oh gosh. So honestly though, like if you're going, and I can speak from experience, the times I went to like, you know, a Bible camp or a conference or whatever, and I went with just myself or maybe one or two of friends from my church, like, dude, the impact was like negative. But if you the times I've gone with like the whole youth group or like a whole group of like women or something, that's when there's a change, because you can come home and be like, hey, remember in this like late night chat we had how you said you were struggling with this sin? Okay, I know you don't want to talk about it on a regular basis when you're not sleep deprived, but can we talk about it? Like, I don't want to leave you in that. And I think that's why that's important. And it goes to the, you know, the brothers and sisters are put in place to build each other up, to discipline each other, to remind each other of the truth. And once again, if your church isn't doing that, like what's the point? Like, I don't know. I remember the first time that I was like one of the first times I was properly like rebuked by like another person in my church. And dang, was I offended at first? Then like if you are truly brothers and sisters, like ones who truly love each other, and it's being said out of a love, not even just for you, but for the Lord, which is even more important. Dude, that hits you hard, and you know the Holy Spirit's going to be making
super humbling moment. Super humbling moment, but so necessary. Necessary. And I don't think I've ever like been rebuked and haven't gone back and said thank you. Or even just thank you on the spot for being like, you're right. You were totally right. Because you have that conviction and you know. But sometimes you just need to be called out on it. Like, and that's why you need your brothers and sisters in your godly church community.
Oh yeah. Look for that. Like, this isn't, I don't know. I don't want everyone to listen to this and be like checking off boxes or whatever, because, you know, we also have to remember we are sinners. Everyone is sinners. Like, this was something that's always hard to accept for me, because, you know, growing up this homeschooled pastor's kid, I was like, there's a perfect church out there somewhere. No, you know where the perfect church is? It's heaven. That's the perfect church. Like, the sins you see in our sinful human churches make you, it should make you desire what heaven will be, rather than just be like, I'm just gonna leave this church and go here. Now sometimes it's justified that you should leave a church if it's literally like speaking heresy and is not anything good. There are churches like that. Don't be a part of those. But when you're looking at your own church, don't just think, oh, well, you know, this one person disagrees with me, I don't think I can come to this church anymore. you're gonna have people who disagree with you. You're gonna have people. Why do you think there's so many different denominations for one? Like that's all people who disagree on smaller things. But if you agree on the core gospel truth, like that's what's important. And honestly, maybe God put that person in your life to teach you how to go back and know why you believe what you believe. I've had that happen where I'm in Bible studies with like a person who I don't agree with at all. And instead of being like, oh my gosh, my whole church must be full of these people who I don't agree with, instead I'm like, okay, but why do I believe what I believe? Do I believe that? Do I, do I have the support for what I disagree with them on? And it's made me stronger in my faith. And then I just have to agree to disagree. Now, again, there's a lot of special cases. We won't go into all of them.
Yeah.
But like, as a whole, I don't want this to make you think, my church is a horrible church.
No. This podcast episode is not a here's why you need to leave your church if it's doing these things. We're talking about the beauty of church, the means of grace that it is in the community. Okay, so don't hear this saying, going through, we're like, oh, well, my church has that. They mentioned that was a bad thing. Like, no. That's not the point of this. That's not. Like, if you're convicted by it, then like, you know what, pray about it. But don't take.
That's your own thing.
Don't leave a church because of us. Like, that's not what we're after. We just want to explain the beautiful means of grace that it is to be a part of a church body and a healthy church body and have that connection, not on pizza or pop, but on the love of Christ. Like, that's what this is about. But
and hopefully what you'll get from this is, even if your church isn't doing these things that you, once you go to prayer and like scripture for it, you realize should be doing, go talk to someone about it and be like, hey, what do you think?
Start something.
Start
small, like start a Bible study. Not a riot, a Bible study.
Yes, honestly, that can be just as impactful. Like, just start talking with a few people and see.
That's one thing you didn't really get into, I guess. Like, what?
That's true.
I mean, like serving the church.
He
didn't really talk about that, did he? Which I guess, I don't know. Means of grace. That would feel like, I would kind of go with it. I mean, he talks about like corporate gathering, but like not sorry. I'm trying to start this whole.
No.
We'll add a chapter and a half.
I think he talks about a little about that in the coda.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I'll have to go back on that.
We'll make a little look-see, and if not, we can just add to the end of part 3. Well,
absolutely. We can always
adding our own chapters.
Because I just realized you're talking like belonging to the body and the church corporate worship or corporate fellowship.
Right.
But, I don't know. I also said the next thing. Do you have any more you want to add to that chapter? I really liked at the end. I
was gonna say there's the end part.
Yeah. I was gonna touch on that, but now I'm just kind of like, I think you should just go read it.
Can I touch on one thing real fast?
Yeah.
If we're gonna keep talking about touchy subjects, because apparently y'all have passionate ranty Erica today, or as the students belovedly call it, Erica's tangents. I just want to talk about another touchy subject in the modern church that he brings up. I will not talk about it much. I just want to mention that he mentions it, and I think it's really important to mention. Church membership.
Is killing me.
Official church membership.
Dang. Okay.
I have.
This has been on my mind so much lately.
I know, and it's something that is not talked about enough in a proper way. And I'm not gonna go into super depth into it. Honestly, there are books y'all can get about it. Maybe we'll make a list. I keep saying we'll make a list, and then I don't make lists. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'll do that someday.
If you want a list, how about that? If you want to know. Contact us.
There you go. Yes.
There you go.
I would just like to. Okay, so I'm gonna quote him. And he says, the deepest, most durable form of fellowship is covenantal. In other words, it is between parties that have made formal commitments to each other. This is not only true in the partnership of marriage, but also in the local church. When we make vows and promises to each other and covenanting together in a local church as members or partners, or whatever term a church uses, we don't inhibit the true life of the church, but give the truest conditions for its growth and flourishing. You guys should be members of your churches if
Yep, that's just it. That's just it.
I think that people think that membership is not necessary in this day and age, and I would just like to say that is incorrect. And there is so much importance to it.
It's interesting because I remember why I've been thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
So we were reading this book as a team, and he talks about church membership, and he was advocating it. But one of the arguments that he brought up, I've never heard anyone, but I've never also like I've never been bold enough to ask someone. So like, why aren't you a member? I think I've asked one person once, and it wasn't a super, no offense, legit reason. Then I was kind of like, okay, well, is this? I just was like, okay, so this is what everyone is thinking. But one thing I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I've never thought of that. Some people don't think it's necessary because it's not in the Bible, but it kind of is in the Bible. So there's no like spot that I have found, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. There's no place that says that really talks about membership other than there's this one passage. I believe Paul wrote it, that someone needs to be removed from the assembly. Ooh. Or something to that effect. So then that was one that he is saying, well, in order to be removed from something, you have to be a part of it. Because he was like, I forget, he was committing adultery or something like that. And he said that this guy needed to be removed from it. Anyway, so that was just interesting to me. I was like, I never thought of the fact that like it doesn't really say that in the Bible. Some people will throw that in there as a reason why that they're not a member. And they're like, well, the Bible doesn't say we have to be a member of a church, just have to be. I'm like, but I mean, that's kind of interesting to think about. And I kind of want to like personally do some more looking into this. Like, I do believe that membership is important, and I believe you should be members of churches, of a church, not multiple churches. Gosh. But yeah, that was interesting for me to kind of look into a little bit.
The passage you're referring to is 1 Corinthians 5, and it is an instance
the church of Corinth
where the man is sleeping with his father's wife.
Ugh. I knew it was something like that. It was something nasty.
But I mean, okay, I will say credit to the person who does realize, I guess there are no specific passages that explicitly say, hey, be a member of your church. But there's oh man, I read a book about it one time. I read a book from Josh and I read about it. That's
my question is
church membership, and it said so much and I cannot remember it right now.
Some membership book.
It was real good. Yeah. All I know is it's important because, like, yeah, honestly, how can you like? It's that thing about being committed and being.
Yeah. Why not? Why would you not want to be? Yeah. Why not? I can't talk. Why would you not want to be a part of something that you love? It gives
you an excuse to just back out whenever you feel uncomfortable, or like I feel like being a member puts you more in sight of the other members, which means that they're more able to realize they can take the time to pour out with you because you won't just leave, you won't just ditch or whatever. Like it shows that you truly are committed and a part of the family, and you know, so you're able to be poured into more and able to be more intentional with your time with the church, and others can be more intentional with you who are in the church, because honestly, if you're not a member at any point, you could just go and you could just leave.
There's no even if you're there and like built relationships and everything, like honestly, you can still, which I think that makes sense because I think we really enjoy that in this life. We don't like committing. We don't like issues. I mean, obviously, look at our divorce rates and whatever. Like, it's really bad. Or like even. Actually, I don't want to say that. We just have commitment issues. It's not because I'm scared. It's just because I don't feel confident in the thought. So just so you know, because I'm not often scared to say something. But yeah, we just have a lot of commitment issues. So of course that's gonna leak into the church. And I mean, That's like a really good like target. Just gonna
Yeah.
say you're making yourself a really good target for a lot by not wanting to commit to a church.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Erica. That's good.
I just think, again, if you guys want to talk more about that or have more want more info on it, I do have things I could send to you. Like, he even has a footnote of an article he wrote about it. And we can send you guys.
I love that, by the way. It's like, hey, I'm not gonna like put this in my book, but here's this in my book if you want.
Yeah, no, he literally, he has a footnote he says, for more on the nature and importance of church membership, see my short article, Why Join a Church, at desiring.god.com/articles/why join a church. Why join a church? So he's got more on this, guys. I understand why he kind of made it shorter for the sake of the rest of the book, but it is really important. And the important thing is, don't shy away. And if you're not a member, why not? Kind of, I don't know, think about that for a second. Is it because your church is heretical? Is it because you have issues? Like, is it
because you're heretical?
I wasn't gonna say that, but like, are you? I don't know.
Is it because you are the
problem? What's the problem here? Address it. That's what I'll say. Honestly, can I just be really blunt and just like say that if you get anything out of this episode, if you have a problem with something, address it. And
yes,
I think that applies a lot to how we interact with our local church if we have an issue with it or we're not members, whatever. If there's a problem, address it. If there's a problem with your church or a problem with yourself, don't push it to the side. I do that a lot. Don't do it. It's not healthy. It's not good. It's not going to help. You're not going to get anywhere. So
no,
look it in the eye and find someone from your church who you're close to help you address it, to help you talk through it.
Find that brother or sister.
Yes.
In that community.
Oh yeah.
That's why it's important.
Yes. The end of the chapter is just about I should say just about, as if it's not important. It's about listening, which is really important. Listening. It's just I feel like we can't address it well without you just reading the book yourself. So,
no, that's what I was gonna before you wanted to jump back. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I was gonna like briefly like just jump through all of these.
Go ahead.
No. I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just think people should read it. I'm saying it would be more beneficial to read it because I got to looking at all of my stuff and I was like, well, I basically noted the whole thing. But it was really good for me. I had a lot of conviction.
I got convicted
and
too.
It's really good. It's really good. Yeah. So, yeah, we told you when we started this we weren't going to tell you everything in the book. Well, there's one thing we're not going to tell you about.
It's just there's some other stuff that I feel like I don't know. I want to spend more time addressing. And again, though, like, good listening is so important. I think I'll just like kind of summarize it with another quote, which I'm gonna find the specific one. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is a quote by Bonhoeffer where he says, "He who can know." It's right at the end. He who can no longer listen to his brother will soon be no longer listening to God either. He will be doing nothing but prattle in the presence of God too. This is the beginning of the death of the spiritual life. Anyone who thinks that his time is too valuable to spend keeping quiet will eventually have no time for God and his brother, but only for himself and for his own follies.
Yeah. That's like
important.
Oh, so good.
It's so convicting.
It's super convicting. I feel like I'm scared to like even talk and touch on it because I think I have to go off into the spiral. And I really want to talk about the next chapter.
Yes. So, maybe at some point for our little special live streams too, you guys can kind of like mention different sections in the books we've read and be like, hey, I wish you would have addressed that more. And we'd happily talk about it more. It's just
for sure.
So much. So that's an idea.
But let that sit in your stomach for tonight tomorrow or whenever
day you listen to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the morning, whatever time it is for you. Let that sit. So yeah, chapter 14 is titled Kindle the Fire in Corporate Worship.
So good.
I'm really passionate about this. We talked a bit about it already. Like, it does have to do a lot with corporate gathering.
Yeah.
You're gonna worship together, guys. not like you're gathering for the word. And something that I love about worship is it doesn't stop or start at the music.
Yes.
And I think not enough people know that. Like a lot of people when they're like worship, like they think music, which, you know, that's to be expected. That's kind of how it's portrayed. But it doesn't start or stop there. Like it worship through giving, worship through the sacraments, worship through the preaching of the word, like prayer, like all of these things. Like the whole Sunday morning should be a whole giant worship. Like that's what it is. But yeah, that's something that that's really changed a lot in my mind for the church, is thinking like the whole thing is a worship. I think it helps you appreciate it more.
Oh,
you know
definitely.
what I mean? When you feel it, because like we're made to be worshipers. And so when you think about Sunday morning being a giant worship, like the worshiper inside of you is like, yes, that's what I'm made for. Like that's that's what we love to do. Sometimes I think we don't know we love it, and then like we just love to worship him, and he's so worthy of that worship that when we just start, like our hearts will just they'll just overflow, and we will be filled up knowing that we are just giving him the glory that he deserves. And that's I love that. I love that a lot.
I think like what's important is that I won't lie, I don't know which part he talks about this, but I'm gonna bring it up now because it fits. Oh shoot, sorry, my computer just spazzed out on me. Okay. Anyways, but something that he addresses is about how one of the parts of the corporate worship is forgetting yourself. Like coming to a place that you are just so focused on God and on worshiping with his people. And I think that's what trips us up all the time. That's why we, you know, you're talking about this beauty of the whole church is like the whole church service is worshiping God and whatever. And I think those moments within the service that we kind of are like, oh man, I don't like, you know, I'm not focused or I'm not whatever. Like that's when we're letting ourselves get in the way of God and, you know, this beautiful means of grace. Like when we start thinking, what are my plans for the week? Or what am I supposed to be doing today? Or, you know, am I singing too loud? Or am I like, I don't know. There's so many things. Or like, let me speak to those who volunteer within a Sunday morning service, because I feel that getting so focused on how you look and how you're doing and whether you're getting in the way of the worship of the Lord, like that's what ruins it. That's what trips us up. That's what keeps us from enjoying the purity of it. And he talks a lot in here about how about how oh, where is it? Oh, the secret of joy, self-forgetfulness, and about how our focus together is the crucified and risen Christ and the incomparable excellencies of his person and work. When we experience the secret of worship, the joy of self-forgetfulness, we become preoccupied together with Jesus and his manifold perfections. That is when it is a means of grace. Like that's what's important, and that's, you know, what our focus should be, is on Christ instead of ourselves. And that's, I don't know, that's so pivotal and important.
Yeah, I love this quote too, which really, that's why I think I love the worship ministry so much. As a whole, I love all of it, and not just the part I do, but all of it. Is because it's a taste of heaven. We get a little taste of heaven here on earth. And he has this quote that I just love because it's so true. So I'm going to read it. It said, heaven will be more spectacular than we can dream, and new earth even better than heaven. But it might be surprising to hear that perhaps the best foretaste we can get on this side is with the gathered church, worshiping Jesus together. Like gathering together, not in front of a TV, gathering together for worship, praising God. Like that, what Christian, what Christ follower would not want to experience a little bit of heaven, would not want to experience a little bit of home? Like, honestly, like I love that. And that's how, like, honestly, Sunday mornings, I feel that so much. I'm like, It's especially because I have the blessed opportunity to stand up front and have these beautiful voices, whether in tune or out of tune, these beautiful voices coming forth. And I'm just like, wow. Like, honestly, sometimes I have to like say to the congregation, it's like, you guys, you sound so amazing. And it's moving me so much because like, this is only just a little glimpse of heaven.
Yeah.
And like, they're not even singing to me. That's not what it's for. It's just like being in a group of people who love the Lord, who are singing to him with their hearts open. Like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And I cannot wait for heaven when all of the voices, like, I can't even imagine that. All of the voices. It's crazy.
I've been thinking and reflecting a lot with us starting our little church over here, like seeing something form from the bottom up and like just out of such purity of worship. With you saying like how beautiful their voices are. I love that, like, my side of, I mean, okay, we go to a bigger church for Sunday morning, but our Sunday evenings is just one family, another family, and me. And Dane, the other side of just pure worship through hearing kids singing.
Yes. With no instruments. Gosh.
Oh my word. There's one kiddo in our group who sings so passionately and loudly that it puts a smile on my face every day. And I think, oh my goodness, like that is pure worship too. Like, you know, this tiny group of people that just desires to worship together and do what our eternal vocation is, which is worship the Lord, and like being able to hear every individual voice so well. And yeah, again, we're off key. We're, we take forever to find a key. That's our current problem. Like,
hey, with those hymns and stuff, you never know if you're gonna be like hitting this top note or this bottom note. So finding a happy medium can be.
Kids are doing accidental harmonies, but like every other word, like it's so great.
I love that so much.
It's so beautiful, and it's like I love how both can be seen as so beautiful. Like the humble version, and then like that founded version. Like both of those are so beautiful, and I think that's what we can dwell on when we come on a Sunday morning. Like, it's so simple and so pure and so lovely. Like, just I love, I have one thing here that's like, come for blessings, lose yourself in the blessings, seek God and forget yourself. Like, just, and those around us are blessings too. Like, that's why we should be corporately together and constantly growing together outside of just a Sunday morning, so that on those Sunday mornings we can lose ourselves because we're so comfortable and open with each other that we can just focus on God purely. Like, that's an important aspect.
We are definitely not going to finish this in this episode.
Just like, oh man, there's a whole other thing I want to talk about. I can't talk about it.
I think this is a good place to pause.
Yes,
this is a good talking about gathering and worshiping and just getting a little bit of taste of heaven. So I think we should wrap up there, and we'll pick up on this next time we
it will work out well with what we're talking with next, and I think we won't have quite as much for some of the other chapters, so it might. I don't know. We'll see. I'm
pleasantly surprised. Yes. I'm pleasantly surprised every time. I was like, oh, we can find a lot to talk about this. But
right?
This is
every
so
time
important.
I feel like I'm
the church is so important.
Yeah.
All of this is important, but also like this is a weekly thing that we get to experience, and what a blessing that we get to experience it so freely in some areas. Where I'm at, it's a blessing. And I think recognizing that is huge. So be thinking about that as you anticipate the next episode, because I know that's what you all do after you listen. Actually, it was so cute. My mom was like, oh, yep, you need to go record. I'm ready for the next one. She's like, I need to do it. I was like, oh, she's anticipating it. That's so
that
sweet.
makes me so happy.
Our moms are the best.
Man.
They're so
Dude, for real. Mom's
and Josh's mom.
Clutch.
She's the best.
Yes. Oh my word, for real. Like Josh's mom, my mom, and your mom are like coming in clutch, man.
They're super supporters. I love it.
Yes, I love it too. Oh man. But anyways, this has been a super fun episode, and I'm so pumped to talk more about this. Be dwelling on those things we told you guys about. Talk to us and tell us what you want to hear more about, or your comments, or
please do
whatever. Honestly, even if Bri and I are bad at communicating with each other on how you guys communicate with us, you can still communicate with us. And
because we're still giving out responses. We just we don't know.
And you're still welcome to our Facebook group, which would have Bri and I both see your stuff at the same time. Join that Facebook group, guys. $3 a month. Super fun. Maybe I'll give you a deal. I don't know. We'll see. But for right now, I hope that you will join us again for more tea and shenanigans on the Seeking First podcast. Remember to go and support us and join that Facebook group I mentioned with a membership at buymeacoffee.com/Seeking First. And you can always contact us through posts and messages on Instagram and Facebook at Seeking First. We will see you guys again next time.
See ya.